the trans students on this campus who feel actively victimized by your presence here?
Life's tough. Get a helmet, man. I'm too pregnant for this. Next question.
Up next, we're going to talk about friend of the show, Candace Owens, who y'all might know I'm not a huge fan of. I've disagreed with her on many occasions about a variety of topics, including LGBT issues. But she recently went to a college campus. And of course, her views on LGBT issues are very controversial, and these students were very upset. And we're going to talk about a couple clips from that event where I actually, got to give her some props and have to scratch my head about what's going on with our college students these days. Let's take a look at this first clip.
What do you have to say to the trans students on this campus who feel actively victimized by your presence here?
Life's tough. Get a helmet, man. I'm too pregnant for this. Next question.
As a non-binary person, what do you have to tell me about my identity? Because I know for a fact I'm not confused.
Okay, next question. Great statement. That's a statement. That's a statement. Okay, you know your identity. You're not confused. Congratulations, sweetheart. Thank you very much for your statement.
So for the first part there, I honestly laughed. I laughed out loud when she said, wear a helmet, right? Because the idea that even if you accept their view that Candace Owens is a big, mean, anti-trans person, let's accept that framing. No one made these trans students attend her talk. Nobody made them pay attention to her or watch her clips. They can literally just go about their business, and she's speaking to a campus group that wants to hear her. It doesn't affect them in any way. They, of course, have the right to not be physically harmed, to not be physically intimidated, to not be bullied on campus, but they do not, and really no one has, the right to just be comfortable emotionally and intellectually on a college campus to the point where you're never going to have people saying things you don't like in the same physical space as you, in the same 5 square miles. That's not a right that anyone has or that anyone should have at a place of higher learning, where by definition, if you want to actually learn, actually challenge yourself, expand your critical thinking capabilities, you got to be in the same general area as a wide range of ideas, not just the ones that make your fifis feel warm inside and make you feel special, but yes, the ones that undercut your most fundamental values, your sense of self, that contradict the things you hold dear. You don't have a right to a safe space in the real world, so you shouldn't have a right to one on a college campus, and these ridiculous antics are just yikes. The second part of the clip is funny too, because it's like, I'm a non-binary student. Why do you have to tell me about my identity? Listen, Candace and even folks like myself, we don't think non-binary is a thing. We don't think it makes sense. We don't really understand it. So we're not really going to accept or promote it. That doesn't mean that you can't call yourself or ask your friends to call you whatever you want. You can. But why do you need Candace Owens validation? That weird question just struck me as screaming of this insecurity. Why won't you validate me? If you're strong in your sense of self and you really do believe that you exist out of the binary of male or female, and even though you can't really articulate what that means in any coherent or consistent way, if you really believe that, like Candace said, fine, go ahead, just believe that. What you don't have the right to do is force other people to accept that and to embrace it and to accommodate it in their speech and in their thoughts and in their mind. We don't have to do that. You don't have a right to demand that Candace Owens or anyone else validates your sense of self. Let's roll this interesting clip of what happened next at Candace's event.
I found it very perplexing to me how you choose to only focus on the things that are negative when it comes to the queer community.
Sorry, when it comes to what community?
The queer community.
Okay.
Do you not realize that people like you and people like the people you're around and that, continue to have this idea of us are the reason we feel that we have to be so openly proud of who we are? Your demented homophobic and transphobic rhetoric and rants just further prove our point that we have to fight loudly to be respected. The reason that LGBTQIA plus suicide rates are so high in this country isn't just because we're part of the community. It's because there are people like you who make us feel like we don't belong. The only LGBTQ agenda we have is
okay. Is there a question in there or a speech?
Yes.
You got to ask a question, buddy. I know you wrote this out in your notes, but ask a question. Let's go.
How do you think other people who, with your beliefs, respond to the fact that your hateful and harmful rhetoric costs the lives of queer children every single day, on average, every 45 seconds.
Okay, so this is just going to be a pure boogeyman. You're pretending that someone committed suicide because of Candace Owens. You've got no facts here. You're just going, it's your rhetoric that's causing all of this.
So I had to respond to this clip for a few reasons. It started in a place where I almost got his point, because I do think Candace Owens is way too negative towards the LGBT community, and that's why I have critiqued her and pushed back on her different statements about gay people and about trans people at different times on this channel. But to blame her for people's suicide is insane. Candace Owens makes YouTube videos and Facebook videos. And I don't say that pejoratively, like that's pretty similar to what I do with a lot of my time, but she does not do anything to materially impact trans people or gay people's life out there in the world. They don't have to watch her content. They don't have to listen to her speak. They can block her on social media if they don't want her acerbic tweets to come across their timeline. She actually has me blocked. I kind of would like to see some of her tweets, but can't. But she's not responsible for anybody else's mental health. And if the idea is that she foments bigotry or whatever, and maybe maybe she does, like, let's accept that. There's still impossible to draw a line between her speech and anyone taking their own life anywhere in the real world. There's a million leaps and jumps you would have to get to try to connect those two things. And that's fundamentally unfair accusation to throw at somebody extremely bad faith. And ultimately, I really care about mental health. I've struggled with depression and anxiety in the past. I'm doing much better now, but I do care about those issues for people. And I will even reach out to people who comment things on my YouTube or my Instagram or something like that that suggest they're in a rough place, because I really do have a tremendous care for people who are considering taking their own life. But your mental health is your responsibility, and the people that can help you with it and try to intervene are your friends and families. Candace Owens is not responsible for your mental health. And to try to tar people who say things you don't like with the responsibility for other people's death and self-harm is a cheap tactic meant to shut down debate and silence the people you disagree with, not to honestly engage or have a constructive dialogue.